Hello, welcome back to my craft room. I thought I would just make a very quick video to show you how to make the peony from the Peony Garden suite. I'm on page 82 in the annual catalogue 2020-21 and this is the flower that I'm talking about here. Actually, the whole Peony Garden suite is just absolutely beautiful. There's stamps and dies. Let me turn over. There we go. Here's the stamp set shown with some samples, and I'll show you mine in just a moment. And the die set is wonderful. If you fancy these after you've seen me demonstrating how to make the peony, then do note that you can get a 10% off bundle there of the stamps and dies when you get them together. But there are also some really beautiful patterned papers here, all done in soft pinks and greys. And then there is some gorgeous ribbon, which I'll show you on a card in a moment. These very pretty little gems. They're faceted, and again they come in very soft colours, pinks, greys, whites, and these lovely square doilies which are really thick. They're made of vellum, and you can trim them in various ways to make them into different shapes, so they're actually much more versatile than you might think at first glance. And there is also a beautiful embossing folder, the Dainty Diamonds one, which if you've got your catalogue you'll be able to see here in more detail than you can probably see on the video, which is a very subtle pretty pattern. So it's just a stunning suite. I've had it on my list since I first saw the catalogue and I finally got it. So let me show you a little bit more. I'll show you the stamps and the dies. Let's move those down so you can see them. There we go. So the stamps are shown on the box at only 90% of the actual size. There's images of peonies. There's two separate images, then there's one here with a stem and a bud as well. There's a couple of leaves, and there's this little textured background stamp which matches the design on the embossing folder I was talking about. And then there's some sentiments in here as well. My thoughts are with you. That's a really useful one, and sadly So Sorry for Your Loss is a set that we all need in our stash somewhere, but obviously these are beautiful for birthday cards or anything else really. When you get your dies, there seem to be an awful lot of them. I've got some of them here. I keep mine on magnetic sheets, as you know, and here's some that I've separated out that I'm going to show you separately in a minute. So yeah, they look like a bit of a nightmare set really. This long one here cuts, if I bring it up, I'm hoping you can see, a scalloped edge with a little kind of wiggly embossed edge as well. So that's really nice. So that will cut a piece big enough for your card front. The dies I've left on here cut out all the images and the leaves on the stamp set. And even this one here, which is quite a detailed peony. If I show you this card, which you may have seen here or on my Facebook page earlier in the week, you can see that it does cut out all the gaps in this little flower, so it's really a nice die. Setting those aside, I'm just going to show you now the ones that you're going to need to actually make the cutout peony. Here's the project that I posted on my Facebook page earlier in the week, and you can see it's got this very dimensional peony. It measures roughly 3 1/4, I think it is, by 3 inches, so it's really quite big. If I put my hand next to it you can see, and I'll turn it and tilt it a little bit and hope that you can see some of the dimension on that. So it's beautiful. If you Google peonies, you'll see that they come in every colour you can imagine, from white to very, very deep purple. They've got splotches and stripes on some of the petals. They're just absolutely beautiful flowers. I really love them. We've got some in our garden, but it seems that every single year they just start to really open up, and then we get a torrential rain shower. They get all sodden and drenched, and then that's the end of them for another year. So it's quite nice to be able to make some paper ones. I've got a couple of samples here of other peonies that I've made. With this one, I've inked the edges, and I'll show you how I do that in a moment. And on this one, I've used Magenta Madness card for this, and I've cut several of the stamen pieces instead of just one, and I've also put the petals through the Old World paper embossing folder to just give them a little bit more texture. Right, so the dies then that you're going to need to cut out your peony are these 4 here, plus the stamen. Okay, and I'm hoping I've got them all up the right way. Yes, I have. So it's those four, which all look a bit peculiar there. You'll see that they don't match any of the stamped shapes. That is the stamen there. And then you've also got 6 more dies to cut your leaves with. So you've got 3 different leaf shapes, and then you've got 3 contrast sections for the leaves, so you can cut your leaves out in 1 colour or in 2. And if you have a look on this card, if I move that ribbon a bit out of the way, you can see here I cut mine in 2 shades of grey. So I used 2 of the different leaves here. That one's tucked right underneath. I don't know if you can see. There we go. And these are not the dies you use to cut out the leaves in the stamp set. So you've got 2 extra dies for those. So although the dies look very, very complicated, all you've actually got is you've got dies for all the images in the stamp set. You've got 5 dies to make your flower with, and then you've got 3 pairs of dies to cut out some different leaf shapes with. So what I've done is I've cut all these shapes already, because you don't really need to see me use my big shot. Let me just lay them out next to them, see if I can do that. There we go. So that's the ones that I have cut, and you can see that I have inked the edges on 3 of them. I've left 1 to do for you now just to show you, and I've also curled them with my bone folder, which again I will show you in just a moment. So I tend to ink and then curl, but you can curl and then ink if you like. So I've just got Blushing Bride ink pad here. I've got a sponge dauber, and I'm just picking up a very little bit of ink, and I'm just going to make sure I haven't got too much on there. And then when I'm inking card of any sort, I always sort of scrape the dauber along the edge like that. The bottom, strictly speaking, is not going to be seen, but for the sake of showing you how I do it, I'll go all the way around. Now, you've got this cut in all of the petals. When you're inking, try and hold that closed just to support the card. There are some quite small sections here where it's not very far between the cut and the edge of the shape. So just be careful that you don't tear those by accident. If you do, you can either cut another one. It's only a little bit of card, so don't stress about that. Or you can actually fix them as well. So I'll show you one that I fixed in a minute. To do this section in here, you can just slip a little piece of card in there, which will help you see what you're doing. And then I'm just kind of scraping the ink across that section. This edge here, the upper edge that's cut, is probably not going to show when my peony's assembled, but just to make sure I don't have any gaps in the colour, I tend to ink everything. When you come to inking your pieces, if you've got some photos of real peonies in front of you, you might find, for instance, that they are a deeper colour in the centre than they are around the edges. You might find the base of the petals are coloured and there's not much on the top, so you can always use photographs for guidance. Or you can do fantasy peonies, which is what I'm doing here. Right, so I've inked my edges. I haven't inked that bottom edge there. Let's just do that one. There we go. And now I'm just going to show you how I curl the petals. So this is the one I haven't done. Again, be really, really careful. It's very easy to tear them here. So I'm supporting that across that cut section, and then I'm just curling this with my bone folder. Now, the more you can curl the petals, the nicer your peonies will look. But just bear in mind that you don't want to tear. And again, this section here, if you can get your bone folder in there and just curl that a little bit, that's really nice if you can do that. So that's just added some shape to the petals. Okay, now when you cut these out, you're going to look at them and think you don't know which way up they go. It's actually fairly straightforward. I'm going to show you on each one. Let me point. Where are my scissors? Let's point with my scissors. On each one you'll find, obviously they're wiggly all the way around, but what you're looking for is this little notched shape here. Okay, and if I show you on the next one, you'll see that this has got a little notch on it there as well, and I'm just wondering if that will be easier to see if I put it on something dark. Let's turn this card over and hold it against that. That would probably be easier for you to see. So it's this little notch here in particular. So this is the third shape, and again we've got that particular little notched shape there, and then on this one here too, it's just there. And what happens when you put them together is that you will be matching up those little notched shapes to get all the bits in the right places. If I'm just stacking them on top of each other here. They actually slide inside each other, but that will hopefully show you. So you can now see, here's that little notch I was talking about just there. And you can see that all the way along the bottom edge, they do actually match up. They've moved, but they do match. So what you're looking to do is to match the patterns there, and then you'll know you've got them the right way up. So on the smaller pieces, you've got the cut at the top, and on the larger pieces, you've got it, well, that's at the bottom, and that one's more towards the middle. That will help you get them the right way up as well. I haven't curled my stamens, I'm just going to do that. All right, so let's assemble this flower. What you want to assemble them with are some glue dots. You can use the multi-purpose glue. This will work nicely, but you have got to wait for it to dry, and I just know that I'm going to get it all over my fingers if I try and use that, because as you'll see in a minute, you're going to be slotting pieces inside each other, so it's going to be much easier to use glue dots. And you want to put your glue dots on the front of each section. So what I've got first, I'm going to start with the stamen and the smallest section of the flower. I'm going to put a glue dot down towards, I suppose, the middle to the lower section. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, of the stamens. And I'm going to just slide that inside my smallest piece here, and it's just going to go inside the slit there. And you can decide how much of your stamen you want to show and where exactly you want it to go. Let's just make a little hole, there we go. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's not difficult. Okay, so I'm happy with my stamens there, so I'm just going to press that in place. Then I'm going to take the next biggest piece, and this one is going to slide into there. So first of all, I'm going to pop a glue dot on the bottom of it. So the piece that's going inside is the one I put the glue dot on, and I put it towards the bottom of the front, like that. There's a glue dot there at the bottom. And I'm going to slide it in. With this piece, just watch out, because that loose end of the stamen on the back can get caught. And you may have to bend them very slightly just to get them inside, but it will go there. Do you see what I mean? That stamen's getting caught, so I'm just going to tuck that inside like that. There we go, and that will now reasonably easily push down to the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up that notched shape that I showed you, which is here. Hoping you can see that. I'll show you anyway. There we go. Press the glue dot shut. So there we go. So that edge here, that pattern, there's the little notch, and then that pattern there matches on the two pieces. So that's where I am so far. So now I'm going to take the next largest piece, put a glue dot on the front of the smaller one, and that's just going to tuck inside here. And then I'll turn it over and match my patterns. There's that little notch, and there are the curves. Press it shut, attached. There we go. So there's the notch, and then these curves match. And then finally I've got my largest piece, so I put a glue dot on the front of the smaller section, and that's going to slide in here. Turn it over and match the pattern. There we go. So there's the notch and then the curves. And that is my peony. Now I can play around with this. I can bend the petals a lot more now it's attached. They do look really nice if you bend them forwards. And I haven't experimented yet, but I think it would be possible on at least some of these to use more than one layer the same size and just offset them slightly. These bottom sections look really nice if you fold them up. The one in the catalogue has been manipulated quite a lot. So there we go. Now the weakest point on these flowers is just here. So it's on that large section just down at the bottom. and if you're not careful you'll find those will tear. It's easier on coloured card than on white. Whisper White is thinner because it doesn't have all the ink to add weight to it. But I did actually tear it on this one, but I've just attached it there. I'll hold that up, you can probably see there's a little tear there if I move it. There we go. But I've just stuck it down either side, and to be honest it just looks like an overlap on the petal, and I'm not sure that you would know that what had happened unless I had just told you. So these flowers are beautiful, they're very easy to put together. I'll show you again the 2 cards I made from the suite. So the bundle will give you these stamps, and it will also give you the dies, and then these are 2 of the papers. There are 6 different double-sided papers. This one's got peony buds on it. This one has got a geometric pattern in the background. I've pleated up some of the satin ribbon, which is just beautiful to stroke, and I've trimmed down one of the doilies here to give it a more rounded shape. Peony Garden Suite. You can find it in the annual catalogue. It's absolutely beautiful. If you make anything using these items, do please send me a photograph or pop it on my Paper Crafters group page if you're in that group. If you're not, let me know and I can add you. And thanks so much for joining me today. Bye bye.